Hi there. If you're running Laravel Queues and you have any kind of custom configuration for job expirations and timeouts, you should definitely be paying attention to the retry after queue configuration. This option specifies how many seconds the queue connection should wait before retrying a job that is being processed. We'll go into more details later into why this option exists, but for now I have set up this very simple app which we will use as an example. This app has this very simple job which will get dispatched to the queue, and it has a log entry when it starts, a log entry when it ends, and in between it sleeps for 5 seconds to simulate some kind of long-running process, some kind of slow API response or some kind of slow database query, anything that will take longer than expected. Let's also take a look at our queue configurations. We have our queue connection set to the database, just to make it simpler for us to view the jobs. And if we look at our database connection in the queue configuration file, you can see the retry after configuration is set to 2 seconds. So clearly, our job is going to take longer than our retry after configuration. So let's see what would happen when a job gets dispatched to the queue and processed. I have created this very simple command which is going to dispatch the job to the queue. After dispatching it, we can look at on table plus, and we can see our job is here into our jobs table in our database. Remember, we are using the database as our queue driver. So we can see here our job has 0 attempts, it's not reserved, and the available at column, we can see that is set to 27 seconds ago. So basically, it's already available since 27 seconds ago. This column is also used when you dispatch a job in the future, like using a delay. So if you do that, the available at column would be set to a date in the future it's using numbers because it's using a Unix timestamp. With our terminal open here, we are going to set up our example to have 2 queue workers. Each one of them will have 3 tries. We are also going to tail our log and see any log entry that would come when we process our queue workers. So I'm going to start the first one and right after start the second one, and we'll see what happens, and then we are going to analyze what this means. So starting the first one, starting the second one, you can see the first one already picked up that job, and you can see that a few seconds later, the second queue worker also picked up the job. You remember we had only one job in the queue, and if you look at our logs here, you can see that we have 2 starting and 2 finished here. So basically, because of our retry after configuration of 2 seconds, the same job was picked up twice. Why does that happen? When our first worker picked up the job, it did set the available at column should be the time it picked up the job plus the retry after configuration value, which is 2 seconds. So let's say it was the current time plus 2 seconds. So the second worker was running. When it ran the first time, it saw that there wasn't any jobs available to pick up, and it just kept going. So 2 seconds later, when it ran again, and it came to the jobs table and saw, oh, there is a job available for me to pick up. So it did pick up the job, even though the first queue worker was still processing the job, as we can see here in our terminal output. So we had 2 workers processing the same job. So why does Laravel does that? Why not simply block the job and let the job either finish or fail and then do whatever it needs to do with that? So this happens because the job can time out. And when a job times out, the queue worker that's processing your job will simply get killed. Like there is a process in your OS that is running your queue worker, and that will simply get killed whenever the timeout happens. So if a timeout happens, it will not have enough time to either update the available at column to be now or to say that job have failed or anything like that. So that's why the retry after configuration exists, because it will set your job to be available to process again if nothing happens in this specific amount of time. So that's why your retry after configuration should always be at least the same time as the timeout of your queue workers. Otherwise, you may get in trouble. You can double process jobs, as you saw that it can happen here. And imagine you could be double processing a payment or double sending some very important emails. So be careful. That's very important. If we look at our logs here, you can see that the jobs didn't even run sequentially. Like they both started before any of them have finished it. So keep that in mind. Also, if you're using Laravel Horizon, the retry after configuration will not be here in the default queue config. It will be in the specific Horizon configuration. And if you're using Amazon SQS, this configuration will not have any effect from your code perspective. You need to actually go to the AWS console and change the default visibility timeout option directly in there. So it's a bit more work, but it's necessary if you're having any kind of custom configurations. All right. Hopefully this is helpful for you, and thank you.